Good afternoon. Good evening, Fenwick.
Good evening, Anjali. Speaker ma, okay, Nilay has joined.
I think there are two eminent faculties. They need to change their names.
Yes. मैं हमारा group में रखियो.
हाँ.
Chairman just join करे थे 1 minute.
हाँ, chairman हाँ. Good afternoon. Good evening, Nilay bhai.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening, Harit bhai.
Good evening.
So we can check faculties में who has joined. Just respected faculty, can you turn on your camera? Abhishek ji, Mustafa ji.
I'll just talk to Abhishek also and Mustafa को एक बार phone करना.
Let us start with ICI Motor Song. Till then, I'm also coordinating.
Yeah.
A very good evening to. Yeah. A very good evening. Welcome to this unique session on cryptocurrency. Recently, on 1st June, the RBI announced that cryptocurrency is not banned in India, which is a welcome relief for all the investors, and we can see the overwhelming response of the participants. So let's start the session with ICI motto. I request each one to place their right hand on their heart for ICI motto.
य एष सुप्तेषु जाग्रति य एष सुप्तेषु जाग्रति कामं 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 कामपुरुषो पुरुषो निर्मिमाणः निर्मिमाणः तदेव शुक्रं तद्ब्रह्मा तद्ब्रह्मा तदेवामृतमुच्यते तस्मिन् लोकः शितः सर्वे तदूनात्यपि कश्चन एतद्वैता 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 एतद्वैता.
Welcome back. The esteemed faculty for today, CA Abhishek Jain, CA Ankit Jain, CA Mustafa Ji, Chairman Ahmedabad branch, CA Harit Dhariwal, past chairman and chairman for the IT committee, CA Fenil Shah, coordinator for today's session, CA CS Nilay Shah, senior members and my dear friends. Welcome back. I would now request Chairman Ahmedabad branch, CA Harit Dhariwal, to give opening remarks.
Thank you, Anjali Ben. So all the dignitaries on the virtual dais, and all the participants. A very, very good evening to all of you. So I think today we have a very unique topic. When I say unique, I think cryptocurrency is something which we have not debated, and especially the taxation aspects, legality, and even the valuation models. I think I've never heard a session before we planned this one that we had so much variety of topics on the same platform. So I'm very thankful to CA Fenil Shah, Abhishek Jain, Mustafa ji, and all the other faculties who have agreed to take on this session today. Before we get on to the topic, I think just a few announcements. Today on the World Environment Day, we have had a wonderful morning session when we had a plogging event, and the office bearers and a few other coordinators had gone, from our new premises to our current premises, and we had done a lot of plogging activities, cleaning the streets and all. It was a great experience for all of us. And as we speak, I think we have elocution, painting, photography, drama, poem writing, and all blog writing all going on virtually in parallel. So we are celebrating the World Environment Day virtually now. We have also distributed more than 500 saplings, nest, water pots, and bird feeders today morning while we had a tree plantation drive also. So apart from this, on the event front, we have a very, very interesting Excel series coming up from this Monday. A very, very meticulously planned series by Anjali Ben. I think I'll say that normally Excel, we all see it as a formula based, what formulas to learn, pivot tables and all. This is the first time when we are actually, learning the implementation of the Excel. You see how Excel is going to be used in GST, in CMM data preparation, in audits, TDS, charts. So it's a beautiful series starting from Monday. So if you're not registered, please do it. Registrations are still on. We have a GST workshop, a very, very well planned series by Bishan Bhai, which is starting from 11th of June. So we have 4 weekends in which GST, right from your basic concepts to your assessment, everything is covered in that workshop. So try to get the advantage of that. And one more session on the 12th of June, we have a very important VCM on the digital economy, which will be taken by Rohit ji. So I think very, very good sessions lined up. We are also coming up with a series on the skill development, MSME, and even on the trust. So this is the entire schedule for the month of June. So do get associated with the Ahmedabad branch activities. And thank you once again for such a huge participation on a topic which is emerging, but yes, a very promising sector for us as individuals and chartered accountants. So thank you so much, and over to you, Fenil, now.
Thank you, Chairman, for the important updates. Happy World Environment Day to all of you. I would request now CA Fenil Shah, Chairman of the IT Committee, to take the session ahead.
Thank you, Anjali Ben. A very learned speaker, and when it comes to an Ahmedabad for technology, one name which always prompts up, that is none other but C. Abhishek Jain, someone with whom I got an opportunity to serve in Vikasa, right? And I've seen him growing from Vikasa, that is no one else but the speaker for today evening, CA Mustafa Bedawala, CA Harit Dhariwal, Chairman of Branch, CA Anjali Ben, Secretary, Nilay, Harshit sir, and Vedant, the coordinates for today's session, and all the participants. I welcome you all to this evening on discussing about, you can say, very emerging topic and a talk of the town for everyone, that is cryptocurrency. And before we move ahead, I would like to wish you all a happy World Environment Day. And on this occasion, I would like to say kudos and compliments to the efforts and direction given by our chairman, promptly and aptly supported by Secretary Anjali Ben, that all the initiatives which are being taken right now, focusing centrically on our health, not only physical health, but mental health, that is Movement 73, and adding many events, right? That is like today we did plogging in the morning, then tree plantation and everything. Like this can only be happened under the dynamic chairmanship of Harit ji. So thank you, Harit ji and Anjali Ben, and also not leaving anyone, but you can say also covering children activities. Like, so we can say that wherever we are missing on our family, there is our branch which is coordinating everything for them. So it's a comprehensive events which are being happening right now. Now, taking ahead, today's session is very, very important. Though means I can say that today we are in a virtual session on a virtual currency, and whenever means Bitcoin is nothing new. It is since 2009, right? And or cryptocurrency since 2009. And when anyone says of cryptocurrency, immediately the word comes as Bitcoin. But there are so many cryptocurrencies on which today we are going to discuss. And earlier it was not a talk of town, but then I said that people saw that how the valuation increased like anything. So we wanted that just by seeing that upsurge, don't invest, but there is also a downside of the same. So to discuss about what are the risks involved, how far it is really legal. Yes, RBI came out with a notification, but still what are the nitty-gritties involved? To discuss all those things, today we have the learned speaker. And with this brief words, now I request CA Harshit Patel, the coordinator for the session, to introduce the first learned speaker, CA Mustafa Bedawala.
Thank you, Venil bhai. Thank you for providing me opportunity. With this, I would like to introduce Abhishek Jain, today's learned faculty. Abhishek Jain is a ACA by qualification, and he had secured 26th rank, 26th All India rank. He's practicing since 2013, and apart from that, he's a partner in BCAN and Company in 2017. Which is having the vast experience in the financial management, IT, business process, re-engineering and system redevelopment and all. Apart from that, he had a core competence as far as the IT, GST and management consultancy is concerned. He had served more than 200 clients for the management, for managing management skill and risk advisors. Apart from that, he is an independent director in NAPBOK Private Limited, and he created a logics and process for the various functionalities of the accounting in the genuine software. Apart from that, he is a member of various committee at ICAI. With these words, I would like to welcome you, sir, and the rest of the session is with you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, Abhishek ji.
Thank you, Fennel sir, for that keynote.
Mustafa, you joined. I think the first session is being taken by Mustafa. Yeah, you need to unmute yourself.
Is there anyone who going to introduce me, or should I start with the topic?
No, everybody knows you, Mustafa, but still I would request if someone can introduce him also.
Yes,
No.
Nilay, yeah.
Yes. Hi, good evening, everyone. Mustafa Bedawala is a qualified chartered accountant and currently working in an investment banking division of one of the largest American bank. And his expertise is in the valuation, behavioral finance, capital market, and digital currency. With this small introduction, I most welcome CA Mustafa Bedawala and to continue the seminar ahead. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks a lot. So first of all, I thanks all the ICAI members and folks who are giving me the opportunity to present this wonderful topic. And I am quite interested to share this to our fraternity as well. So first of all, just confirm anyone that if you are able to see me and if you are able to see screen as well.
Yes, Mustafa, it's
Yes,
very
both.
clearly visible.
Okay, and you can also see my screen, right?
Yes.
Okay, that's great. So first of all, to understand the valuation of cryptocurrency, there are certain phenomena which need to be addressed first of all. So to understand the cryptocurrency, first we need to understand the valuation part, and then that to understand the valuation part, first we need to understand what is the blockchain. And then to understand the blockchain, we need to understand a certain variation of what is the miners, mining technique, and that sort of thing. And to understand that, we need to understand the basic concept of cryptography, or let's say encryption method or technology. So the whole thing is based upon one thing, which is the inefficient financial system we are living in right now. So I will not directly jump into the valuation of cryptocurrency, because if you are not aware about the terminology, what's the blockchain and what are certain type of cryptocurrency, and if you are hearing the first time what is Bitcoin or Cardano, ADA or Ethereum, or let's say what is the mining technique, then maybe this session is for you. And I hope after, I think, to the span of 60 to 70 minutes that has been assigned to me, you will able to make your investment decision on the basis of that, and also to guide other as well. So that's my motive. Okay. So so simply, I will oversimplify all things to you because it's quite complicated out there. So first, let's understand this block. Okay. So whenever a transaction between us or between many of the bank happen, it's get covered into this block. And this block is covered with the encryption method, and which is known as encryption technology, which I have covered as a cryptography. And then whenever another transaction happens to the same block, the input or output of the first block will be captured on the second block. And then so on and so forth, third, fourth, and fifth, and is taking upon the transaction. And then what blockchain do? It's essentially chaining all the transaction. That's why it is known as a block, and chaining method is known as blockchain. Having understand that, this blockchain is basically assigned to the miners. So miners are nothing; they do the mining orientation work. They are nothing as we heard today, but they are just a person or a computer or CPU, GPU who do the transaction verification process on the blockchain. So don't confuse the mining to the actual mining we do in the gold or in that sort of thing. This is just simple transaction verification process. So first time whenever I hear about the blockchain technology, the main thing that comes in my mind is just a shared ledger. Meaning, if I am transacting with you, I need to keep my separate ledger. And if you are transacting with me, you need to keep your separate ledger. So at the end of the month or year or maybe quarterly, we need to reconcile our record. So on the blockchain, this thing get resolved because on the real time, it's just like a Google form where we can update the thing at the same time, having said that, without the central authority. Okay, so with that understanding, the main basis why this cryptocurrency and everything has occurred is one thing, which is inefficient monetary system. Now take a good look at your screen and see what is written here. And it written here is that the government of India will pay you 500 rupees whenever it is due. So what do you mean by this? Is this is a store of value? No, it is not. Why? Because as we see the balance sheet of RBI or any central authority per se, they are not keeping the equivalent amount of gold that should be kept, because in 1971, gold reserve was abolished. We will explain it later what is the inefficient financial system and that sort of thing. Okay, so having said that, so I will start the entire session with the inefficient market system with which we are living in. And then we will move to the blockchain and certain type of cryptocurrency that has some blockchain technology backup. And then we will understand about the valuation part. Okay, so just let me know if you can hear me clearly so I can introduce to the very basic concept of financial system. Anyone can confirm? Okay, so now let's understand what is money and currency. So think of it this way: 1 million second is equals to 12 days. 1 billion second is equals to 32 years, and 1 trillion second is equals to 32,000 years. Now around the world today, we see that the central bank prints money. So here is the question. We were told from the very young age that the money is hard to come by and we should study hard to work our whole life to earn it. Now, how then we all print this money suddenly, and how this money come into from nowhere? How money is created? Who is going to pay for it? And what exactly does all this mean? And what's going to happen next? I'm here to show you the true origin of wealth inequality. And it is important for the people to know, and I'm really just trying to help with that. Now, physical money come in two forms, either the paper money or coin, and this kind of money is tiny fraction of the economy, and it makes up about 5 to 10% of total currency. Now, more money you have in circulation, the less its worth is, and that's a key point. For example, if a massive inflation takes place and the average person has $1 million, and that $1 million can only buy an apple, so how much money $1 million worth actually is? Only for the apple, right? That's why the loss in purchasing power of money over time is called inflation. And when inflation gets out of the hand, money becomes worthless. Some recent examples of runaway inflation include Argentina, Zimbabwe, Venezuela. As the inflation rate goes up, people quickly close faith in the currency. Now, for thousands of years, gold was a measuring stick of value. And gold was a kind of physical anchoring, keeping the money supply in check and government responsible. But in 1971, it was announced that US would no longer convert dollar to the gold at a fixed price, right? And since then, the point, the money measuring, which was the measuring stick of value, has become elastic. Now, since the US backed all the currency as a reserve currency, it changed the world. Now, the vast amount of money created today is by the private banking sector. It's about 95% of entire money supply and it's created digitally by the bank. And therefore, most money in the world as we today is privatized. Now, let's just think event like a bank run, where depositor try to get their money out of out of everyone at once, right? But the idea of using the money began much earlier than this. Now, take a good look at your screen, and what you are seeing is a promissory note. In this case, it is written a promise to say that you will have to pay back the $20 you borrowed. Today, we digitalize this agreement and call it as debt. Now, in the modern one, you see that the whole world economy is based upon these promises. And let's have a look how in the world it's worked today. So we need to understand that the debt is equals to money, just from the different point of view. To the lender, it's an assets of money, and to the borrower, it's a liability of that. But they are one and the same. The largest tool for creating the digital money is through real estate and property market. And it is the most reliable and profitable source of creating that. Because if you cannot repay the loan, the bank can simply take your house. Now, but what about the deposit? Now, when you deposit a cash into the bank, you are no longer the legal owner of the money. The bank are. They keep 10% of your deposit on reserve and can loan out 90% of that money to someone else. And that other person can deposit into another bank. And then the bank can loan out 90% and so on and so on. And this is known as fractional reserve lending. When all is said and done, an initial deposit of $100 with 10% reserve requirement can ultimately lead to $1,000 in money, total money circulation. Now, so bank can create infinite amount of money with no reserve, and it doesn't stop there. When the bank hold your deposit, they can, along with the hedge fund, gamble with your money through investment and in that sort of thing like derivative security. And so, in order to make the superior return out of their hand. So, what is the problem? So today in the bank are playing with so much of derivatives, sometimes stacking up on top of each other with the leveraging multiplying factor, and then nobody actually knows how much money is tied up with this gambling. Some estimate that it is about $1 quadrillion, which is over 10 times the global economy. Now this is natural and has happened over century, but in 2008, everything has changed. And the world didn't want to go through that same pain of downturn again. And some analysts has marked this as a very point of real economic die. Remember one thing that the bank are creating 90% of all money is debt. And if this cannot be paid back, it can cause a systematic failure, a risk of collapse of entire global monetary system. Now, it's important to note that the government don't actually support the people. It's the people that actually support the government through taxation. So when the government used the central bank money to bail out the private banks for the risky behavior, the government left with a debt which eventually has to be paid back, right? And who are the people who paid the tax? It's a taxpayer who paid the tax. So do you believe that on the onset of this pandemic, 10 trillion is added in the last 9 months alone, and that's based upon only faith and trust. Now, so here is my take. You can constantly bear yourself out and you can constantly go print money with this quantitative easing. Why the hell do I need to pay taxes, right? and why do we have to pay taxes? And this kind of seeds are the seeds of the social unrest across the globe. So how does this money enter the system? The central bank used this magic power to buy equivalent amount of bond from the government, and they do this through the bond market. Okay, so so they simply print out the money and can issue the bond to the people of India, right? And they utilize this agreement as a digital currency. So here is the important question: can a central bank go bankrupt? So the answer is simply no. So this central bank can create money out of nothing, and they cannot go bankrupt. But yet they are buying real estate, real estate, and real thing, right? So it turned out that they are creating money out of nothing and buying things that have a consequences. And this sort of money intervention or monetary supply intervention removes stock market entire from the reality. Now there is no correlation whatsoever between economy and stock market. So the central bank prints trillion and give to the banks and hedge funds with almost negligible risk. And while in the other end, the real economy barely got any help. So that's why we have seen such inflation globally everywhere. And that's where richer get richer and poor get poorer. So this is certainly a wealth inequality as we are seeing today. But people don't understand it. So here it is. Okay. So now you will be asking that, let me give you some example or some live example why there is a deficient financial system that we are living today. So it's happening all over the world. I have just taken the example of RBI, which is our central bank, right? So here you can see that the gold ID is just about 1,04,140 crore, and the note issue, if you can see at the last here, it's 28 lakh 26,863. So it's about 4%. Similarly, it's only this is for the 2021. Similarly, if you see 2020, the same thing happened. And in 2019, the same thing is happening. So we are keeping only 4% of the gold reserve requirement. So that back to the basic. So 500 rupees is for the 500 rupees I showed in the earlier the session. So 4% is only backed by the gold, and 96% approximately is unhedged. Okay, so that's is a problem. So so solve this problem, cryptocurrency phenomena happening. So in the meanwhile, if anyone have a question, then they can ask directly. Okay, so now let's move toward our other topic, which is blockchain. I will oversimplify everything to you, so don't worry. You will get to know everything about when you reach to my model valuation model at the end. So let's talk about blockchain. Now, what blockchain is going to change is going to change the way we trust. Trust is like we have come to the conclusion as a species that I have to trust you in order to transact with you. Now you heard it right. Trust is a fundamental currency of commerce. And you know what? Somehow we are able to trust each other and transact $100 trillion between 7 billion of us on this planet. And the fact is, we manufacture that trust in order to transact. Now, in order to talk about the trust, so that you actually get really what sense I'm talking about, the blockchain will going to change the way we trust. Now, let's say we are going to buy a house. Now we have invented a ledger. A ledger is a fundamental technique to store any data or information for a transaction that we do today. Now, let's say for this house, for example, we have to get a record who owned this house and what happened to it. So we would have to store that information into ledger that would be looking like this. Now, what the problem here is that someone can easily write a record directly onto the ledger, or they can delete a record from the ledger directly. And here is the information that can be tampered. And 50% title record in India are generally tampered. So therefore, the ledger is a tamperable, cannot be tamperable easily by the party involved. I mean, you can remove any record or add any record in the traditional ledger that we maintain today. Now, blockchain has a ledger as well. Now, it's an epic upgrade to the typical ledger we use today. In some of the interesting facts are, every record in the blockchain has a unique key that goes with it. Now, when the next record is written, every information in the first ledger, including the key and content of the second ledger, is put into the formula, and the outcome of that key is the second record. So you can see that there is some dependency now. Now, when the third record is written, the same thing happens, and everything that is recorded in the first and second, including their keys, go into the formula, and outcome of that key is the third record. So now you see that the outcome of dependency is different from what we see today generally. Now this is the fundamental difference, and it goes on and on and on, and eventually and essentially chaining all the records together. And essentially now you can see that in the world we can take this advantage as of immutable ledger, and this is the power of blockchain. Now let's talk about cryptocurrencies. Now, as per my research and everything, I have bifurcated the three generations of cryptocurrencies. The first generation is Bitcoin, Litecoin, and Dogecoin. They are the particular cryptocurrency that is the basis of proof of work consensus mechanism. The second is Ethereum. Now, Ethereum is based particularly on the smart contract, although it is also on the basis of proof of work consensus mechanism. And the third is Cardano and internet computing by Dfinity. Now it's like an internet. It's a third generation. It's an internet of various cryptocurrency where you can seamlessly transact between Litecoin to Bitcoin or Dogecoin to Ethereum. While we are needing exchanges between in today era, but they are trying to solve that problem. I'm talking about generation 3, Cardano and Dfinity. Now let's have a look about some of the most important or most type of cryptocurrency that has a backing of blockchain. Okay, so first take a look about Cardano. Now Cardano and ADA are two different things. Cardano is a blockchain where ADA is a cryptocurrency that lives onto the Cardano blockchain. Now ADA is a proof of stake coin that fuels the Cardano. Its purpose is to provide a quick, secure, and transfer of value, and to allow user to operate smart contract and application. Now, the maximum supply of ADA coins that will ever be created is capped at 45 billion, and the current circulating supply is 31 billion approximately. Now, key feature of Cardano will be the interoperability, as I said. Now, think of this as a way that internet of blockchain, an ecosystem where Bitcoin can flow in Ethereum and Ripple can seamlessly flow into Litecoin. Now, one way that Cardano wants to do this by implementing a sidechain. And sidechain would enable the cross-chain transfer without any middlemen like exchanges, as I have told earlier. Now, this is the way that Cardano function as a team player, right? And it's not a maximalist or it doesn't have the winning take all mentality, that sort of thing. And that's why people are calling it as a crypto 3.0. Now let's talk about Ethereum. Now, Ether is a concept of Ethereum network. So whenever we see someone say about Ethereum touching a new eye, it's actually an Ether that we are talking about. Now it's run on a smart contract, which is nothing but logic that run on dApps. dApps is decentralized application. In other words, contracts are collection of ifs and buts, and then that is conditions and actions. Now this logic are written in the Solidity, which is the programming language, and then network executes it. Now you can think the contract as if I have to pay loan to the bank won't seize my property. And if I don't, then my property will be confiscated. This is a simple contract. And smart contracts are self-executory. and have a letter restricted characters as well. And of course, it's immutable. That's all about Ethereum. Now let's talk about internet computing or internet computing by Dfinity. So the founder of Dfinity says that if you are trying to create something as an entrepreneur right now on the internet, you have what is called as platform risk. So the internet computing is looking to actually get rid of the platform risk entirely. For example, if you want to put an application on Google Store and every time you make a sale, for example, Google Store will take 30% cut of your revenue, right? Now, for example, if they want to change the rule and make it to 50%, you don't even have any choice. You need to sell to the Google platform, of course. Now, similarly, if you are content writer on Instagram or let's say LinkedIn, and if the application goes down, then your entire business kind of thing shut down. Okay, so this is a platform risk. So internet computing want to get rid of all of this in a decentralized way, like decentralize everything that Amazon Web Services is doing right now. Now, before we jump directly into the valuation part, you should pay a certain kind of visit to this website, which is Messari, Binance Research, and ICO tracking site, like ICO Drop. So when you use these resources, be sure that you take and write down any question you might have. So now Messari is a king of crypto exchange aggregation. And if you ask me, this is my first protocol when I am trying to unearth any hidden gems of an altcoin. So it has a numerous features that allow you to see what is trending in the market and to scout this coin and to analyze them. Now here you will find a comprehensive breakdown, including the history of cryptocurrency, incredible detailed tokenomics and token allocation, and even the timeline of the project past, future development, and its fundamental milestone. Be sure to write down the names of any individual involved in the project, namely the founder, CEO, assuming they are the same person. Now, the great thing about Messari Binance Research is that because they are big player in this space, there is a degree of professionalism that is expected from them, right? So in other words, they are basically have to do a good job and get everything right. Since you remember to write down the names of key individuals involved in the project, your next task will be to find the most recent interview that they have done. I found watching interview with the member of cryptocurrency project offers a good amount of information that you won't find anywhere else. Now watching a band behind the project in action will also give a sense of whether you are dealing with the next best thing or with the fool's god. And here is another pro tip. Check their LinkedIn profile to see if their credentials have any merit or not. Now I am here to disclose you the best tool that I use while investing or advising anyone. It's an altcoin season index that brought to us by the fine folks of blockchain center.net. Now, most crypto veterans measure the success of any altcoin trade against the Bitcoin, right? Not the US dollar. So why is that? Well, some people literally just view altcoin as a way to leverage their Bitcoin and give them the opportunity to stake more trades, right? So others just think of Bitcoin like I also consider Bitcoin as a benchmark in this market. So if you outperform Bitcoin, you're outperforming the market and vice versa as well. So the cycle in and out of the Bitcoin and altcoin at the right time, you are probably in the line for some pretty crazy. Now this index is made up of the score of 0 to 100, with the score under 25 indicating that the Bitcoin season is in full swing, and the score above 75 being altcoin season dominates. Now anyone can do dollar cost averaging and increase altcoin position where this index is below 25 and start cycling the altcoin into Bitcoin once the index creeps above 75. In that way, anyone can realize realize the increase in the state value of those altcoins. that anyone has invested. So while there is a hot of altcoin season, you can realize your profit and acquire more altcoin when the Satoshi price are relatively low. Now, of course, this is by no means a bulletproof method. And the truth is that the picking the right altcoin to get the best gain in the altcoin season is still an important task. However, I found this tool very useful when it comes to balancing the blend of altcoin and Bitcoin in the portfolio. Now, all of you are now, after discussing all this phenomenon that what is happening in the market, you are qualified for my valuation part. So let's talk. See, the stocks are valued based upon its discounted cash flow. Now, how much revenue they generate, how much profit they make, and those revenue kind of thing. Now, this is what matters when it comes to valuing any stock. But I can tell you that this is not really true. Let's take an example of Paytm, Zomato, or Cred. Among the listed one, let's take example of Amazon, where they didn't make any profit for almost, I think, 20 years. And guess what? It was valued more than zero. So now you are thinking of stocks are not valued based upon its cash flow, and token are not valued based upon its uses and how it is valued. Well, there is one thing that matters the most than anything else, and that is an outlook. By the way, the outlook has its name when it comes to stock. It is called the multiple or PE multiple. Now, the multiple or PE multiple is a number you multiply the revenue out of the value of that company and its market cap, right? Now, token do not have the multiple, or crypto do not have a multiple yet, but they do have their outlook, right? And people do have their outlook, good or bad, about the token they hold. Now let's see the price action movement of the underlying asset. For knowledge purpose, we are considering the Bitcoin, Dogecoin, and Ethereum in our analysis. If you see clearly, there is some kind of trend for sure. For example, if the number of active user addresses increases, as you can see on this chart, the price of the underlying crypto tokens increases. So there is a direct correlation between the number of active user addresses versus the price of particular native cryptocurrency. Okay, so now this is a chart. You can easily see the market dominance of the Bitcoin. So Bitcoin is the upper part of the chart, and the other altcoin, let's say Ethereum, Cardano, or Tezos, or that kind of cryptocurrency, falls under the second part. So so as I said, you need to identify in which season you are in by looking at the altcoin season index. Now, my first parameter, which is price per search. So in order to value stock, universal parameter is to identify its P, meaning how much its stock or its share of stock has a capability of its future earning. However, cryptocurrency are not earning anything. So in order to get its value, we need to identify its utility. So it's a simple search. I went to the Google and search what is the Ethereum search, Dogecoin search, and Bitcoin search, where you can find the number of search results, right? And then this is the first type of, let's say, metrics where I have put in the information of the token, number of coin from the this chart, which is coming from the market, capital coin market. You can go to the website and found this information, and then you will find its market cap, and then the Google per research that you can simply go out to the Google and then type the number of search results. You can put this information here, and the first metric is search per coin, which is Google search divided by number of coins, and price per search, which is the price of the particular coin, which is market cap divided by search per coin. So you will get your search per coin parameter or P of that particular type of parameter and price per search as well. So this is the first parameter you need to use. Now, the second is price per connection, which is the business connection. Now, if you have two people using some something that, right, if transacting between each other, then you have the which is read as n minus 1 divided by 2, as we have understood in our 11th and 12th statistics classes. Now this is a list of a number of business that accept various coins, as you can see on your screen as of now. So I have put and comprises one matrix where the same information, what is a token that what I am evaluating right now, the number of coins and its market capital. Also, this is number of business that accept that particular coin, and that sort of thing. Now, number of connection between the business, which is n minus 1 divided by 2, which is the particular formula that I have given you ahead, which is n minus 1 divided by 2, just a simple formula it is, where you will find the connection per coin, right? So the connection per coin, you will find the number of connection divided by its number of coin, and price per connection you will get by number of connection or market cap divided by number of connection. So this is the second parameter. I think now it's visible. Okay, great. So we are on the second parameter where I discussed the number of price per connection, which is on the basis of uh, number of business connections, right? Where we identify this parameter and put the information in the formula as n minus 1, and then find out the connection per coin, which is no matter like just dividing the number of connection divided by number of coin, and price per connection simply market cap in the second column divided by number of connection. Okay, so now when we are considering number of business, we need to give a thought that some businesses are large and some are small. Some have more terminal to accept the token and some have less. Okay. So now we move to our third parameter, which is price per connection on the basis of daily active user addresses. So whenever there is an active user increases, the token has the more value that is assigned to it. In simple word, if you have one additional connection that use the Bitcoin, the more utility it's gonna generate. Now, the simple information from this chart, which is available on the various sites that I have mentioned before, you can put this information as well. The formula will remain the same for the network effect, which is n minus 1 divided by 2. Now you can simply put this information, like which is a connection per coin, simply the number of network effect divided by number of coin, and price per connection, which is simply the market cap divided by its network effect. So you will get the price per coin. Okay, so that is my model. You can apply simply and get your investment decision. So right now we have understood various things, but the main thing here is to understand the cycle that we are in right now. So by definition, bubble is extremely rapid appreciation of certain assets, which isn't followed by a sudden crash. Simply, it's an investing or paying for the stuff much more than its real value is. And it's happened everywhere if you open your eyes. But the best example, if I found, of economic bubble is something that happened in 17th century in the Netherlands. Back then, to get a rare, which is a tulip seed, people would be paying absurd amount of money, sometimes even more than their houses even worth. Let me explain why. Let's assume that I am selling this cube for like $1. And if someone from, let's say, Harit sir, say that in this webinar that I will pay for this cube, which is $5. And then another says that, let's say Penny says that I will buy this for 100 or let's say $10. And now when the tricks begin, when someone expert comes in and says that it's a very rare cube and it's take a long time to build and there is only thousand of them in the world and kids want them anyhow. Now suddenly the perceived value of this cube start growing exponentially. And that's where the investment sharks, or we can say the institutional investors, start smelling the blood and start coming into the game. They don't even care about, but they care about is to making money. That's why they start offering certain kind of bet. For example, they say that I bet that the price of this cube can go exponentially to $1,000. Then they brings their friends, media houses, which start forecasting what thinks that the real value of this cube is $5,000. Now the funny thing is that I can bet most of this in this webinar. I do not understand that what was the starting price of this cube, which was only $1. We see the similar things happening in the crypto space. The typical life cycle of bubble consists of 5 stages. The first stage is simply a disbursement, or we can say the cock or mentor stage. Sometimes it is created artificially. Then the boom, the price is on the rise. Then we come to the second stage, which is the boom or the car healing stage, where in this stage everybody asks the crypto expert, right, which cryptocurrency they should buy, or even Ola, right, the Uber driver, they even don't understand the technology, but they will ask the crypto expert what to buy or what to buy not. Now we come to the third stage after this, which is I call this as a Warren Buffett stage or euphoria stage. Now, who do not know what the hell Warren Buffett is, then maybe investing should not be your cup of tea. People now started calling genius by seeing this boom, whoever has invested in the initial phase. And by seeing this success, they don't even know what the billionaire are. And of course, they will buy more, the way more that they can afford, and even they will go all in. So the same investment sharks, who has invested in the cock or mentos stage, start smelling the blood again, and they start selling their stake. And we come to the fourth stage, which is known as I need a Lamborghini, where they book their profit. And eventually we will drag to the another stage, which is known as a panic stage or panic sale, where the same investment shark and everybody or media outlet that said that it is the best investment of the decade, now they say that get the hell out of it. Now, as you can see here, is that the price drops and the biggest loser are those who got in late. Like, as I said, the Uber driver and Ola driver that got in late, that sort of people. And that's where the dark things start happening. Now you see that the cryptocurrency bubble is not the last one and not the first one. And it's not even a unique, of course. 20 years ago, if you analyze, the same thing happened and it was called as a dot-com bubble. In this bubble, 2000 company got busted or failed. But at the same time, few companies that not only survived, but become the backbone of the internet as we know today, like eBay, that's the example of PayPal, Amazon, Google, that sort of company. And the investor who stuck with them during the tough time, now they are reaping humongous reward. As you can see, they are billionaires and millionaires right now because they stick to the core of that particular technology. So the pitfall of economic bubble lies not only in the mathematics calculation, it lies in the core of human psychology, like our desire to put a little effort and receive a great reward, that sort of thing. So bubble exposes our greed, selfishness, and need for access. So the most important thing is to protect yourself and educate and how this type of bubble works. And because they are going to continue, it's in our DNA. So do the right thing at the right moment, and perhaps you will evenly greatly reward it. So the time allocated is almost, I am coming to the end. So just making a recap of entire thing that I have covered. So first, whenever you want to value any cryptocurrency, just find out the certain kind of research tool that I have said before, like Masari, Binance Research, and ICO Drop, where we will find a good quality information because they are the market leader. And then secondly, see the altcoin and Bitcoin season index, where you can identify in which season you are currently in. And then apply my valuation model, which is price per search, price per business connection, and price per active user addresses. And then you can do the relatively valuation comparison between the parameter that I have discussed before. And then after researching all the things and that side of that kind of stuff, you should focus on in which crypto cycle you are in. In the euphoria phase, you can be on the Coke and Mentos stage, or maybe you can be on the I am Lamborghini stage that I have discussed earlier. So on the basis of that, you should make your investment decision, and also you can advise other as well by looking logically and just see or just do your own research on this field. Do not rely on any YouTuber or even the founder and CEO of that particular uh, native cryptocurrency. So that's it from my side. So I am now open to take any question.
Anyone have a question, please ask to the sir.
Okay, so I got a question. Yeah, go ahead.
So one participant, Raj Shah, is asking, what is the best way to buy and from which platform?
Okay, so the best platform I come across when I doing my research and that kind of thing, Binance is the best site where you can rely because they are regulatory complied with the Fed regulation and that kind of thing. So Binance, you must try Binance.
Okay, anyone other have a question?
Okay, so I'm getting the other question like, is it legal to trade crypto in India? Of course, it's legal. I think Abhishek sir will explain it later. Why it is legal. You get your answer. No, nothing to worry about.
Can we rely on a WazirX?
So ultimately, WazirX is a subsidiary now of a Binance. So why
Okay.
to invest or maybe to rely on the exchanges which is in India right now? I do not comply with certain regulation requirements. So you can directly go to the Binance.
Okay. How can corporate entities deal with the crypto? Next question is. Sir,
What was the question?
how can the corporate entities deal with the crypto?
Okay, so there is certain thing that you should certain institution that keep in mind while investing their crypto assets. So that particular different type of topic that we need to address. So like for example, if Tesla is investing or institution firms like BlackRock or Ark Capital Investment are investing in the Bitcoin and that particular thing, so their motive is only to make profit. They are the sharks and whales in this crypto market. They will take the profit and run away.
Okay. Next question. Will the SIP kind of investment make any sense in the cryptocurrency?
So I think as of now, SIP should not be encouraged in crypto.
Your voice is breaking, not clearly coming.
Is it now clear?
Yes.
Okay, so there are cycles which are assigned to this particular crypto asset, or this is now an asset class, right? So SIP should not be encouraged in this class because we see quite a certain kind of volatility in this market. So just on the basis of the cycle that I've discussed, like which cycle you are in, you should make your investment decision. Not you should follow. No, I'm not advising to you to follow SIP. Just be aware about the cycle that you are in, and you should make your investment decision.
One more question. What is the exactly source of a money in a crypto?
Sorry, this is I think the voice is disturbed. Can you come again?
What exactly is the source of a money in a cryptocurrency?
Source of money.
Yes.
Okay, so as I said, the source is nothing. Like I think you are confused. I told about at the initial of the seminar where the fiat currency also do not have any backing of or valuation part, because only 4% our entire monetary supply of currency in circulation is only 4% of the gold backing, right? So 96% is almost unhedged. But in cryptocurrency, as you can see, there is no monetary supply going on. People are just relying on this technology where we can do the peer-to-peer transaction in the decentralized way. Okay, so I can take last question because we have another speaker to catch up on. Yeah.
Money transfer to Binance is reported to any regulator in India?
Okay, so first, this is a separate kind of topic. Maybe we can do a certain kind of seminar in the future ahead, but I can answer you in the simple form, which is the Binance or WazirX or CoinDCX and that type of crypto exchanges are the centralized form of crypto exchanges. So on the basis of my research, what I have done, the basic which is say DeFi or dApps, where the particular type of exchanges are built where you can do the transaction without any central authority. So in the future, I think in the coming 1-2 years, even this kind of platform, Binance and that sort of platform will cease to exist.
Okay. Thank you very much, sir, for your guidance. Now I request CA Abhishek Bhai to take a charge of a seminar. Welcome, Abhishek.
Thank you, Nilet. Thank you. I'll just share my screen so that everyone can view the presentation. Yeah. So I will be talking about legality and taxation of crypto coins or cryptocurrency, as we can say. Majorly cryptocurrencies are digital money, which has been explained by Mustafa ji to you, and how the cryptocurrencies are classified. Majorly, we can say Bitcoin is there, there is Ether is there are around 1300 other variants which are available in the market to invest. There are few Indian players also who have developed their own cryptocurrencies. So the motivation behind crypto coins, as Mustafa has already told, that there is distrust in financial institution, transactional costs are very high. The uncertainty is there about how the government will work or not work. If you see Zimbabwe, the government is continuously printing notes. So then again, that is very uncertain on the part of the economy. Then we have primary concerns like transaction security, how the spendings can be double spent, can be done in the normal currency, fiat currency. Traceability and power distribution is also a very key thing in fiat currency. So at the core, cryptocurrencies are built around the principle of universe inviolable ledger. So what is inviolable ledger? All our ledgers, our older scenario ledgers are inviolable. So you can't change what is written once in the ledger. So that is the core concept, that it should have be a inviolable ledger. It should be the whole decentralized form of data should be there. So that is the one part. So ways to have cryptocurrencies: you can buy cryptocurrencies, you can accept it for your payments, it can be mined, it can be in investments can be done in cryptocurrencies through crypto PMS, which are currently not that big in size and numbers, but there are around 8 to 10 crypto PMS around the world, which are helping smaller investors to invest in crypto through this route. So legal issues and normalization. So in India, we don't have any set of rule, regulation, guidelines currently laid down for the disputes which may arise because of cryptocurrencies. There is no rule to regulate the cryptocurrencies. And that is one of the biggest reason we are currently discussing this. So cryptocurrency related legal issues. What are the legal issues are there if it is normalized, or all the cryptocurrencies are given single-handed option to work? So first thing is that there is a lack of regulatory framework. There is no regulatory framework as of now with any of the countries to say that cryptocurrency is legal and it can be used as a currency. So few countries have done it, that cryptocurrency can be used as a currency, but no one has specifically said that it can that it is a valid currency and it should be used for all the transactions. So that is one part. Then transactions are the transactions are on transparent platform, but the transactor, the person who is transacting, has anonymity in many of the bitcoins and many of the cryptocurrencies. So that is one of the core reason that banks or even the central banks as well as the governments are not interested in doing such transactions, because the anonymity gives the transactor the supreme power that he can do anything without the knowledge of anyone. Problem related to lack of proper authority and channel matrices are also there. There is well-defined laws are not there. Then because the anonymity and as well as safeguard of user of any of the cryptocurrency, there are the chances are huge that tax evasions and money laundering can be easily done through this medium. And it has also been experienced that the cryptocurrency has been used for various illegal means, be it any of your denial attacks on your systems or any terrorism activities. There are many case laws. So phishing attacks are again another area of concern for digital for saying yes to the cryptocurrency. Even till now, the no country in the world has gone fully digital, and we are saying cryptocurrencies, which are a two-step higher than the the current digital currency. So that is the area of concern, that all people are not literate about the currency and so on. Then the biggest concern today is the trading and purchasing platforms, the stock exchanges, be it any of them. There are multiple loopholes in the whole system of the stock exchanges. If you say that the X stock exchange is very good and Y is not good, you can't say like that, because all the stock exchange are currently trading in their name. If stock exchange is billing 10,000 bitcoins to you, it is done from their own wallet, from their own account, and that is just a wallet transfer which is recorded. So it might be possible that because of the centralized nature of this trading platforms, bigger dispute or a money haste can be done. So I will move to the legality portion. The RBI circular in April 2018, where RBI prevented all the banking as well as non-banking financial institutions from dealing into virtual currencies themselves, but also directed to stop providing services to entities which deal in virtual currency. Services includes maintaining accounts, registering, trading setting, settling, clearing, giving loans against virtual tokens, accepting them as collateral, opening accounts of exchange dealings with them, transfers. So everything was stopped, because the primary thing today, crypto is just used as an investment token as well as a trading thing. So when the cryptos are used as trading thing, the biggest concern comes that if a banking channel is closed and the exchanges are not allowed to take cash as a form of payment, it is it is a complete ban on cryptocurrency kind of a thing. So the key impacts of this circular: no financial institution were allowed to transact, services were debarred from the users of cryptocurrencies, and no transactions were allowed, because it is clear that transaction in cryptocurrency can only be done through banking channels. So this was a real risk. The ban was quashed by Supreme Court in March 2021. So now we are talking about this because the ban is now gone. There may be many tax implications. There may be some certain company act rules which have to be followed now. So banning of cryptocurrency regulations and digital currency bill 2019 was introduced in parliament in 2019, which said that person cannot mine, generate, hold, sell, deal, issue, dispose any cryptocurrency in the territory of India. So the word "in the territory of India" meant that if a person who is not of Indian origin also was not allowed to transact in cryptocurrencies from India. So that was a really tough bill, which is not passed yet, but the bill was introduced, and there was huge uncertainty about when the bill will pass, how the cryptocurrencies held by people will be taken at, because there is the penalties are huge, and if a person is find culprit of just holding, a person may be holding the cryptocurrencies from 2010, but he's just holding that currency, is not sold that currency, still he was liable to the penal actions under the act. So cryptocurrencies were certainly a no-go for the government, and they, because of the irregularity nature of the transactions which happen, as well as the whole cryptocurrencies as the previous faculty has told that it is wholly depending upon the supply and demand of the currency. So when the demands are huge and supplies are not there, the rates will go up. So if you have seen in last 4 weeks, some tweets by Elon Musk has shocked the market like anything, the cryptocurrency market. It has changed the market dynamics by 44-45% in actual. So that are the key risks behind the whole cryptocurrencies, and that is why government is trying to regulate it. So the key penalties of bill were higher of anything, 3 times the loss or harm caused by the person. So if you are having certain loss, then also you have to pay 3 times. And if you are gaining something from the sale of cryptocurrency, there, then again you have to shell out 3 times the amount of gain. So that is the big issue. Then if the losses or gains made by the person cannot be reasonably determined, the maximum amount of fine that may be imposed on such person shall be as per the schedules under the bill, so which is 100% of the value of the currency. So that has taken the whole market apart from India. Recently, China also did ban the cryptocurrencies from all over its exchanges from the Chinese country, so that no terrorism activities can be funded through them. So then the same bill is now regulated as a 2021 bill, and now the government has changed the focus little bit on settling up a official digital currency. So it is not much time that you will see a rupee as a cryptocurrency. So when a regulated, it has to be seen how a regulated currency is converted into a cryptocurrency, which is regulated again. So that the framework for creation the official digital currency will be issued by the Reserve Bank of India, and the bill also prohibits all private cryptocurrencies. So whenever the bill comes back, it might be possible that the ban, which is currently lifted by Supreme Court, may come back. So it is not that the ban is over, but again, the principle of natural justice will stay. We will speak about what Supreme Court said. So Supreme Court said that official digital currency, whenever it comes, it's good. But till then, RBI cannot say banks to not work or not provide services to people who are dealing in cryptocurrencies, unless it is illegal by some law or it is banned by the government. So the Supreme Court's verdict was till the currencies or cryptocurrencies or any other digital instrument which are banned by any act by the government, it cannot say the banks to not serve people who are having work from digital currency. So because of this, the Supreme Court set aside the previous order of banning of services by RBI, and under Article 19(6) they did this. Actually, by virtually choking up VC exchanges, the circular, according to them, infringed the right to practice any profession or to carry any occupation. So basically, Supreme Court didn't say that it is correct or it is not correct. They relied on the principle of natural justice. They relied upon the constitution and said that RBI has certain limitations which they had to follow. So if tomorrow the government says that, okay, we have passed a bill and that bill says cryptocurrencies are illegal, then any actions by RBI can be validated. So the judgment never said or never will say that cryptocurrencies are legal now. So it is legal till the time it is not said as illegal by any act of law. So this was the legality aspects of cryptocurrencies. Now we will move towards taxation. Why the cryptocurrency has to be taxed? Why it is? What kind of asset it is? How to levy tax on cryptocurrencies? So this is a very big portion, and Indian economy. In Indian economy, we can say in last 3-4 months, we have done more than 30,000 crores trade in cryptocurrencies. So you can't have that as without tax purchase and sale, and the gains cannot be without tax. So to check what kind of tax structure will be adopted in future on the cryptocurrencies has to be seen. So we will discuss it on length, how it can be taxed, and eventually it will fall in which regime. So let's talk about taxation internationally. Internationally, country-wise, if we see, Australia treats cryptocurrency as property and charges capital gain, and the GST is not charged on it. Germany sees it as private money. There is no capital gain. If owner owned less than 1 year, then a progressive income tax of 45% on all gains apply. So Germany treats it as a currency or a money. Switzerland treats it as foreign currency, and there is no capital gain tax on it. Even no sales tax is on it. Only a foreign if there is some gain or loss, it will be treated in the forex gain or loss. US treats it as property, and capital gain taxes are charged on it. Sales tax is not applicable on it. UK again treats it as asset as well as private money, and it is determined by the court of law on case-to-case basis. Capital gain is charged on both the things in UK. Japan treats it as a legit method of payment. Capital gain tax is charged. Though it is a legal way of payment, it is charged to capital gain and no consumption tax is made. So we have also gone into a bit detail about how US Internal Revenue Services addresses cryptocurrency issues. So cryptocurrency has been classified as an asset. Taxpayers are required to mandatorily report cryptocurrency transaction for tax purposes. So if you are not giving the information about cryptocurrency transactions in the tax returns in US, it is a crime. Retail transaction using cryptocurrency such as purchase, sale, incur capital gain taxes. So if there is some retail transactions through cryptocurrencies, then it will incur you capital gains. Cryptocurrency mining business are subject to capital gain and can make business deduction for their equipments. So if you are in a business of mining of cryptocurrencies, then capital gain taxes will be there, but you can have deductions for your equipments. So cryptocurrency, basically, if you are having cryptocurrency from ICO, or you just develop your own cryptocurrency, then it is taxed at ordinary income tax rates. Even recently, when there was a shift in government in US, the forthcoming president has said that cryptocurrency transactions must be taxed at double rate. So that is just his suggestion. He has spoken in a meeting, a press conference about this, but there is no circular or notification about it. So at asset recognition. So as per Income Tax Act 1961, how the assets are recognized? So as per section 214 of the Income Tax Act, capital assets are recognized. So keeping in view general provisions of Income Tax Act, cryptocurrency could be deemed as capital assets if they are held as an investment by taxpayer. So currently, if we see, the 90% of transactions in cryptocurrencies are done as an investment opportunity rather than a sale purchase transaction or a trading transaction. So again, when we say cryptocurrency or coin is a currency, we have to check when the RBI clears its stand on it. So currently the RBI has no stand on it. It doesn't recognize it as a money or a currency, legal tender. And once that happens, only if that happens, the whole cryptocurrency tax decisions will be as per the FAMA regulations, and it will be charged to tax as per the FAMA the business profession. So if we say taxation under capital gain, if we consider cryptocurrencies as capital asset, then the gains will be taxable under the head of capital gain. And we all know LTCG is charged at 20%, STCG is charged at slab rate, and there is a period of holding which is 36. This all are estimated things. It is not that there is some clarification on this part. This is estimated that it will hold true in case of cryptocurrencies also, as it is it holds true in capital asset cases. Internationally, majorly all the countries treat cryptocurrency as capital assets or money, and majorly all the countries are treating it as a capital gain transaction. If you have seen, the government has come up with a Schedule 3 disclosure circular, where it has said that all the transactions involving cryptocurrencies should be reported separately. And there is another column in the assets column where cryptocurrencies, if there, has to be shown separately. So this means the country also knows that the political parties and the government knows that cryptocurrencies by this day or any other day, it will become legal or at least a tradable commodity in India, and they want to track it to the fullest. So taxation under business and profession. if you take cryptocurrency as part of a supply and you take and give cryptocurrency as a part of the current local currency, which is not a certain thing in a near future, then it will be treated as the profits from the sale of good or services will be treated as business income, which is generally done currently. Incomes of stockbroker, exchanges, and any other intermediary will also be part of business and profession. Uh, and if in case you are treating cryptocurrencies as stock in trade, you are just trading in cryptocurrency, then it may be offered under the head of profit and gains from business and profession. Taxation under other source. Currently, if anyone have received any of his client have received any notice from the income tax department in case of trading of cryptocurrencies, the officers, learned AOs, all of them have established is as it as an other source income, and they might have given it an 100% tax or a 33 MMR rate of tax plus undisclosed it may also be capped as an undisclosed income if the buying source is not available. So income from other source may occur in case when there is some PMS where you have invested money which is of cryptocurrency, and any interest or dividend from that PMS may be considered under other source. Or if you don't have any of the buying selling details about the cryptocurrency, then it will also go into other source as an undisclosed income. And if any earning you make from crypto trading are taxable, like any other other income, you have to show it or declare it in the IT returns, because this is legal. This is what the tax laws are for, to tax on the all the incomes which are generated. So now GST on cryptocurrencies. So in mid of last year, government had come up with a proposal from CBIC that crypto mining should be treated as supply of service, and and since it is a supply of service, there should be GST on crypto mining. So this is very interesting topic. If you are doing mining activity, it should be come under supply of service, and 18% GST has to be charged on the transaction value. So and only if the transaction value, the transaction fees or transaction value for mining is more than 20 lakhs of the individual miner. Proposal also consider wallets storing keys taxable. So basically all the wallet service providers must be registered under GST, and they should pay GST on the charges which they take for wallets, wallet creation and all. Cryptocurrency exchanges need to register and pay on their earnings. So all this WazirX, BitX 23, as well as all other players in cryptocurrency exchanges has to register on GST portal and pay tax on their earnings. Trading may attract, they have written it as trading may attract 18% GST. If that happens, we can say that selling or buying of cryptocurrencies will be down by at least 95% of the current transaction size. Buying and selling of cryptocurrencies will be considered only under the category of supply of goods. That is one part. So this is how they want to bifurcate it. They want to put GST on it. In scenario where both buyers and sellers are in India, transaction will be treated as supply of software, and buyer's location will be the place of supply. So basically, the place of provisioning of service rules apply here. For transfer, these are just a recommendation by CBIC to the government for the tax rates as well as supply rules and taxation of cryptocurrencies. So how our GST will be calculated? These are basic things. Though all the above recommendations, and we believe there will be rationalization in GST. Though it will be par with global standard. What globally people are doing, what globally countries are recognizing cryptocurrency will stay in India also. It will not be a different matter. So as I said, companies profit and loss on transaction involving cryptocurrencies has to be reported. Amount of currency held has to be reported, as said, deposit or advances from any person for the purpose of trading or investing in cryptocurrency or virtual currency has to be mentioned separately. So this is how the Company Act says. So what is the way forward? So country might ban the private cryptocurrencies, or may allow it as just as a trading platform, but it has to be taken note that there is no base behind the cryptocurrencies. There is no valuation mechanism behind the cryptocurrencies. There is no fundamental behind the cryptocurrencies. So it is a very risky instrument, and it might give a bigger perspective or bigger return, but it might also go zero. Your investments may go zero. So that is a very big ask which anyone has to see. Rather than banning or curbing, Money Laundering Act, KYC processes, and other related issues should be calibrated by the government to avoid any kind of underground channel and regulate the whole mechanism of cryptocurrencies. Government should also regulate this all virtual currencies as well as their exchanges. The biggest issues are the exchanges, not the cryptocurrencies. Because if the exchanges are regularized, then the trading activities may easily work. And India is also now the front runner in digital payments. India had to the UPI technology took the payments industry in India as well as around the world by a shock, and the whole UPI platform was built by Indian people. We think that way forward, it should be the government who should come up with a UPI kind of a solution on cryptocurrency, and rupee may be a digital currency by then. So I'm a director in NBPL. It's a NAP Books Limited. We are coming up with an IPO. This is a basic slide, what we do. So now I will be open to the questions and sessions. What you want to know about cryptocurrencies and so on.
Participants, please ask your questions. So there is one question. If an NRI sells Bitcoins on Wajirex website, the amount
Hmm.
is transferred to his NRE account, then whether he is liable to pay income tax in India even if he had purchased bitcoins out of his foreign earnings?
Yes, it is taxable as per the current circulars, internal circular. It is taxable if the transaction is done in India. If NRI has done the transaction outside India, it is not.
Okay. One more question. My client is providing payment gateway service for online gaming and converting INR to USDT crypto and sending it outside country.
NR2,
USDT.
okay. And
Uh,
then
is it and sending to outside country? Is it valid? Any implication over PMLA?
sir, converting Indian rupees to US
USDT.
dollars and US dollars to crypto is a case of FEMA. If the FEMA allows it, it doesn't see any violation, then it can be done. But again, if the part of USD to crypto was done before March 21, it was illegal.
Okay. What is the stand of SEBI on crypto?
So SEBI till now didn't had any full-fledged stand on crypto, any tough stand on crypto. SEBI, it is this stock exchanges in India who are wanting to have cryptocurrencies traded on their exchanges, as well as the current cryptocurrency exchanges who wants to be regulated by SEBI for getting for actually liberalizing the whole process of cryptocurrencies trading in India. So there is no stand till now, but there is a request by this stock exchanges as well as crypto exchanges to have SEBI as a regulator rather than having RBI as a regulator.
Okay. Next question. Whether the trail of purchase and sales is available on the crypto to calculate for the taxation and any trail.
I didn't understand what you want to ask.
Sell and purchase trail is it available on crypto exchanges?
Yeah,
For taxation?
so all the crypto sales and purchase transaction can be done only through the wallet, and all the data about sales price, about the number of units sold are available on the crypto wallets, and you can go ahead with checking the wallets, and you can know how many cryptocurrencies you sold and you brought.
Okay. Is it right time to invest now, or we should wait for the clearance of government regulator?
See, there has been huge investing in cryptocurrencies in last 3 months, and it has seen a huge jump since the 180-pager order by the Supreme Court. But again, you have to understand the risk involved in cryptocurrencies. It will look good, it will look rosy if you see it from outside that people have invested 1,000 rupees and they have got crores of rupees, but there is other side of story too. So by as per the research work done by me, government is very keen on the technology called blockchain, but they are not that much keen on cryptocurrencies. So now or later, there may be a ban or there may be some restrictions put in on the sale, purchase and transactions of cryptocurrencies. So this may adversely impact the investments.
Okay. What would be the taxability on the brokerage income?
So brokerage income will be taxed as income from, so basically if any only stock exchanges can earn brokerage income from cryptocurrency transactions. There might not be any other intermediaries till now.
Yes.
So the stock exchange has to pay income tax as well as GST on the brokerage they earn, and they have to show how what kind of expenses they have done against it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So is it mean like a business profession income?
Yes, it will be business professional income.
Okay. One more question. My client want to send INR to European exchange to buy USDT. How is it possible?
See, that is the question of FEMA. To buy something in Europe, you are sending dollars. That you have to check with the FEMA expert how the overall transactions can be done. But if they want to do it in crypto, that can be done. But again, they have to check whether that is allowed or not.
Okay. Why do you believe there is a buzz about a crypto despite government planning to ban White Bill 2021 private crypto? Isn't government giving opposite signal by making amendment in Companies Act in contrast to the Bill 2021?
Yes. So as I said, that there might be some strict regulations on cryptocurrency trading as well as cryptocurrency handling the cryptocurrencies. They may ban or they may not ban, because the banning was done. Banning bill was came in 2018, but till from 2018 till now, there has been many changes in the overall structure. There are many judgments which has passed by Indian courts as well as out of India courts, which are in favor of cryptocurrencies as a commodity rather than as a rupee or a legal tender. It is more of a commodity. So we can't say currently what will be the stand of Indian government at that particular time, but being in the industry from last 4-5 years, I have noticed that the overall acceptance of cryptocurrency with the government is very low, and they don't want to have private currency players, because it will create a second channel which till now was the cash channel which was going on. Till now it is going on, but it has reduced significantly because of demonetization and then digitalization revolution. So government doesn't want to have that cryptocurrency as currency, I guess, but it may be in the future they add it as a commodity, just like we have crude as a commodity and many of the spices as a commodity.
Which currencies are considered as a private crypto?
So all these currencies which are not regulated by anything are considered as private crypto. So till now, 99% of the currencies, only 1 or 2 governments have created its own cryptocurrency, which is regulated, is not private currency. So anything which is regulated is considered public regulated currency, cryptocurrency.
Okay. I think there is one more question. Should the gain on sale of cryptocurrency be taxed as a capital gain or income from other sources? I think it is answered already.
Yes.
Can regulations be implemented from the retrospective effect for the crypto by the government?
It can be done, but always when it is done retrospective effect, any regulation, there has been a huge backlash on the government for the doing it, and there are many cases including Vodafone share transfer case. So
Yes.
we can't comment directly on that if it can be done or not. But if it is done, then you all of the chartered accountants are more knowledgeable than me on income tax point of view. I am the guy for information technology. So if any retrospective effect comes, it can be challenged for
Okay.
sure.
Which crypto is a best except Bitcoin? Can you suggest some few
So
names?
there are more than 1300 odd big currencies. There is Ether, which has huge potential. There is Ripple. There are many currencies. We can't say one is best and another is not. But Ether has the most private blockchain built on it, and it is one of the preferred channel for any developer to build any blockchain application on it. So that, and on that way, it has a huge fundamental basis covered, or the user base is huge in case of Ether.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think almost every questions has been answered.
Okay.
Just a minute.
Thank you.
Can you throw some light on distributed ledger technology vis-a-vis the banning of crypto bill 2019?
See, distributed ledger technology is more about having information with everyone. So if you see in case of Bitcoins, if you see in case of Ether, or if you see in case of any private blockchain, the distributed technology is used to give access of information to each and every participant in the ecosystem. And while cryptocurrencies are on decentralized basis, but when I said that stock exchanges does trade in their name, why they trade in their name? Because stock exchanges have that decentralized node, not the wallet user. So if you buy it from the stock exchange, there is no depository in between stock exchange and the final wallet user. So the issue comes in between if any stock exchange impact is done, impact analysis is done, there might be no blockchain between the stock exchange and the end user. And this is the one of the key areas of what we say theft, or theft of currency is done through this area. This is the biggest leakage or biggest pothole in this whole cryptocurrency system.
Okay. One more question. Whether corporate invest in a crypto, then the balance sheet where we need to show this under the head of investment or cash equivalent?
No, it has to be shown in the head of investments because it is not a currency, though it is a liquid asset, but it is not a currency recognized by the government. So it has to be shown as an investment.
Okay. I think, sir, each question answer has been answered. Is Dogecoin reliable?
See, you can't say which cryptocurrency is reliable, and I don't want to comment directly on the type of cryptocurrency. So Dogecoin is a currency which is currently doing good, but I can't actually say that it is reliable or not, because there is no basis to say which currency is reliable.
Okay. Thank you very much, sir. Almost all the question answer has been answered now. Thank you very much, Abhishek ji. Thank you very much, Mustafa sir, for your very in-depth knowledge about the cryptocurrency. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Nilay. Thank you.
We conclude this seminar here.
Yeah, thank you.
All participants has requested your presentation and the recording of this event. So please, if possible, share with Harith. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.